Alright, so we move on to Superman 2, the Richard Donner cut. And while watching the movie, I looked up the differences. And there is some differences in this film. But mostly I want to just talk about the ending. The differences between the endings, because we gotta talk about it. So what's the plot here after the events of the first Superman? Because of what happened in the first Superman film, the missile that Superman flung into space has collided with the Phantom Zone, which contains the three Kryptonians, Zod, Non, and Azira. I forgot her name. But then the missile has released them, and they are starting to rampage across the world. And after they team up with Lex Luthor to do so. Meanwhile, Clark, Superman, is forced to admit that he's Superman to Lois Lane, and then I like how they do this because, like, she holds a gun, but it's kind of stupid. She holds a gun, she fires it, and then he's just like, and she's like, "You are Superman." Now, if he was smart, he would have called her bluff on it and be like, "Lois, those are blanks, aren't they?" And she'd be like, "Oh." But he didn't think about it, and thus he just revealed himself. And he's like, "Don't you realize if I wasn't Superman, you could have killed me?" She's like, "These are blanks." And he's like, "You should have been smarter, man." Then you have he decides, okay, so he takes her to the Fortress of Solitude, right? Now, the one consistent thing that I see in Smallville is that Clark from Smallville is always afraid to have sex with women because he's afraid that he's going to hurt them because of his powers. Now, I understand, there's a couple times he doesn't have his powers, like season 5, he loses his powers, so, he's able to, But he have sex before he loses his powers, because afterwards he goes to Jor-El and he used the Red Sun thing to turn him human, which doesn't last very long because they go to a diner. He gets beat the hell up by this guy, this jackass, and then they see the thing on the news about Zod and everything that's happening. Apparently, everyone's been in the know of this. Like, it's public. He attacked the president. Not attacked, but they forced the president to kneel before Zod. But, because they've been away. Here's my little problem. It's not that. It's, okay, the scene where Clark keeps getting beat up by the dude from the diner. Rocky, I think his name is. It's not Sylvester Stallone either. Even though technically Rocky was already on. But anyway, I feel like it would be a little less one-sided in real life. Like, speaking of a human being, you'd still defend yourself. Clark just stands there and then he gets beat up, he goes through a window or whatever. I understand they want to show that he's human now and he's vulnerable, but he could have done a little bit more. And we'll talk about his little revenge towards the end of the film, but he could have done a little bit more to defend himself instead of just getting his ass whooped. Just saying. So because Zod and his lieutenants are doing this, he goes back to the Fortress of Solitude and he gets his powers back. So what was the point of losing him? Just to find out he can get his ass kicked? Great. Sure. And he does get his ass kicked by the Kryptonians, but they have the same powers as he does. Let's backtrack a little bit here first. There's a scene where they're on the moon. Kryptonians cannot breathe in space. I know what you're thinking. Well, are these aliens you can bring space or not? Exactly. Superman has had, in the comics and in the cartoon series, after this, of course, had to use a suit to go into space. But they got the 3 Kryptonians, and this is the early 80s, whatever. They had the Kryptonians standing on the moon. And they kill astronauts. Why were there astronauts on the moon this released in 2006. When did the original film come out? 1980. What? When were there astronauts on the moon in 1980? Just random. The astronauts on the moon in 1980. And if this is taking place right after the events, probably like 1978, 79-ish. If it's 1979, are they to commemorate 10 years of being on the moon? I don't know. I'm not going to try to figure it out, but I'm just saying. Sorry, itch, dry skin and all that. So, eventually, Superman comes up with a plan to save the day with help from Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor's escape. He leaves Otis behind, but he escapes hanging from a ladder. So, after disposing of the Kryptonians, he and Lois decide that they can't be together. Why not? You see, other incarnations were just fine. They're like, oh, he's Superman, so they can't be together. Why not? Superman takes her back to her apartment, right? Here's the thing. So, Superman saves the day, gets rid of the Kryptonians, and he and Lex are talking back and forth, and then we cut to Superman and Lois walking away. They're far away from the fortress, but Lex is not there. And then Superman just laser visions, heat visions the Fortress of Solitude, blows it up. Where was Lex Luthor? Did he just kill Lex Luthor? Was he in the Fortress of Solitude? He's not with them, and after that, he flies her home. What happened to Lex Luthor? There's one scene where they're arguing, and then the next scene, he's not there. He's talking to Lois. He blows up the Fortress of Solitude, and they fly off. What happened to Lex Luthor? I feel like there's a big chunk missing. And this is the Richard Donner cut, where everything's supposed to make sense. What? So, he takes Lois home, gives her a kiss, and he flies off. She's like, there he goes. This is where the difference is. In the original theatrical version, when he kisses Lois, her memories go away. But how did they do it in the Richard Donner cut? They repeat the same damn thing from the first one. And they have him go around the planet in reverse. Only this time, it's reversing this a couple days. And he ends up putting the Phantom Zone back together, even though we don't see the missile destroy it this time. And it reverses everything. Lois doesn't remember him being Superman. Clark Kent being Superman, that stuff. And there's, no residual effects. The Kryptonians are back in the Phantom Zone, and yeah, everything's back to normal. Just one problem. Lex Luthor would have escaped whether or not there were Kryptonians or not. Whether or not Superman would have told his secret or not, Lex Luthor was escaping. So does that mean he's out? I mean, he doesn't come back to the fourth one, but does that mean he's escaped? Because we don't see it. We don't see it specifically say that Superman... Because Lois is typing and thinks Superman takes day off. But they could have put it in there that he stopped Lex Luthor from escaping from jail, and they wonder how he knew, but they don't. They completely forget about Lex Luthor at the end of this film. They forget to show us what happened to him in the original timeline, and they don't show us what happened to him in the new timeline created by going back in time. They completely forget about Lex Luthor. And I've seen the other two. It's not explained. You know? But if Superman Returns is a continuation of this, then... Because I was confused at first. Because he destroyed it. I'm like, wait, the Fortress of Solitude in Superman Returns is supposed to be a continuation of this. Well, if we go back in time, it's not destroyed then. And... So, why does it do that? My ear, I don't understand why it does that. So, sorry. It's weird, this thing. It doesn't do that. Only when I'm sitting here doing reviews does it do that. So, I forgot what I was going to say. So yeah, when, in Superman Returns, they find that, they got so it doesn't get destroyed, that's what I'm saying. But I still feel like they should have done something with Lex Luthor. They just forget him in the end here. And then we get the scene where Superman goes and gets retribution for what happened to him. In a timeline, it doesn't exist anymore. He goes to that diner. He goes up to Rocky. And I feel like this is a little revealing. Because... Clark walks in, and Rocky's sitting at that chair he was at before, and he says, I believe you're sitting in my favorite spot. And the guy was like, no, go away, whatever. And he said, you gotta fight for it. And the guy punches him in the stomach. Of course, it doesn't hurt him. He just lets it hit. And then he, grabs the guy, spins him around in the chair really, really fast, puts him on his plate, and shoves him down the whole counter. And his excuse is, I work out. I'm sorry, but at least one of them have to suspect that he is Superman. I'm sorry. It can just be, okay, we'll accept that. No, one of them has to suspect it. And Clark pays for the damages, and he then sets up the flying thing. It's basically the same ending as the first one, because he hears the Superman theme playing, he flies up, he looks at the camera, smiles, just like the end of the first one. So, but yeah, surprisingly, I like this one better than the first one, more because it gets right to the point. Whereas the first one is an origin film. I told you guys before, I'm not a big fan of origin movies when it comes to these things. And where they took so long explaining Krypton, explaining Clark as a teenager, then explaining him going into the, starting to work for the Daily Planet and meeting Lois and all that, before they got to the main plot. Here, right away, we see what happens at the end of the last film coincides with freeing the 3 Kryptonians, and they immediately get to kicking all the ass, right? You see, Clark and Lois have a little thing, but then he's forced to negate that so you can go fight them. It just sets right off. It doesn't take long to do anything. I feel like it's... let's take a look at the running times here. For the first film is 151 minutes. God damn, that's long. This one, 116 minutes. A lot quicker. Yes, I like that. This is a long-ass movie. 151. It's over 2 hours, right? Yeah, because 2 hours is 120. Yeah. This one is barely 2 hours, which is good. So, it's time to rate. Okay, my rating for Superman 2, the Richard Donner cut, is a 9 out of 10. I think it's a better film than the first one. Same director. It gets to the point a lot better. It doesn't take a long time to get there. It's a great film. 9 out of 10 for me. So what are your thoughts on Superman 2, the Richard Donner cut? Let me know in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe. Love, peace, chicken grease.